How many John Cena figures do we actually need? Apparently a lot, because figures like this might be the reason figures like this can even exist. I see you guys barking in the comment section. I see the collectors. They're complaining. They complain every single time Mattel makes another Cena, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Stone Cold. But there is something we completely ignore, and that is without characters like these, there might not ever be a WWE figure line for us to complain about in the first place. And Mattel has almost gotten to a point where, I feel like back in the day, in the early Mattel days, they didn't really make the obscure characters. We did get some, don't get me wrong, they did exist, but it's not to the quite scale that we get them in today's day and age, especially with all the different lines that we get between the Legends line and the Monday Night Wars line. What I think has developed, man, is, over those early years of Mattel, the John Cenas, the Rey Mysterios, figures like this were really keeping the line alive through the years and got us to a point where we're at now. This has not really ever been a problem for me specifically. You've seen the back wall, or if you haven't seen the back wall, man, I have over 100 plus John Cena. So I don't care. They could reveal a John Cena in every single wave. You're not going to hear a peep out of me, big dog. However, I have absolutely seen this everywhere. Every time there's a Hulk Hogan release, a Stone Cold, a Roman Reigns, the Cody Rhodes, and of course, John Cena. Everybody does it. They reveal a new wave, and what do people see? They say, another John Cena, how many do we need? Maybe not in the most recent years, right? The retirement tour, all those things. I understand that. People know we're getting different gears, and people are waiting on their favorite retirement tour, Cena or what have you, but you know what I'm talking about, man. New Roman Reigns comes out, pass. Again, how many Cody Rhodes figures do we need? Then they showcase, somebody that's a deep cut, somebody that we haven't seen before in the line, the first time in the line figures, the characters that are the deep cuts. And what happens, Brad? Everybody loses their mind. Holy shish, they're actually making this guy. And that is the difference. That's the contradiction, because collectors judge the line based on what we need for our collections and the holes that are missing in our collections. But Mattel has to judge the line based on what keeps WWE action figures profitable. They have to extend the line. That is always the next step, right? I mean, human nature is to keep yourself alive. So what do you do as a basic mechanism? You're always seeking for comfort. You're trying to last to the next day. And that's similar to how Mattel has to view this WWE action figure line. Because, of course, if there were not re-releases, the line would die. The average WWE figure customer isn't, the guy who knows the difference between WWE Elite Series 73 and WWE Elite Series 87. You know what I mean? The hardcore collector already owns 14 John Cenas. They don't need another one, unless you're me, of course. For the kid out there, that's John Cena. They're going to want John Cena. For the parent out there, their kid likes John Cena. And then for the casual or the guy just strolling down the figure aisle or the average WWE fan, they see John Cena, they see it from that memorable moment, and they purchase the action figure. Hell, even grandma, right? They're a gift buyer. I don't know what wrestling is, but my grandson loves these things, and I know he loves John Cena. He's always wearing that hat when he comes to my house. Bang, instant purchase. And then you have the characters that took legitimately 16, 17 years to get, right? We've seen this so many different times. There's figure reveals, and you have many people walking through the booth. Who the hell is that guy? Who is this guy? Who is that guy? And, that's the ones that the hardcore collectors are sitting on. They've been waiting on those, man. We got time put into this, man. We got energy. We have been sitting and waiting on these things for a very long time. And, the patience does pay off. At least I'd say so. I know a lot of people, they can save a lot of money too, because you don't want to buy your 80th John Cena. You can put your money away and wait for the obscure character. Or, you can break out the customization tools. I guess you could call it the Cena tax, or the Cody Rhodes tax, or the Roman Reigns tax. Every collector has to tolerate another John Cena, another Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, Rey Mysterio, Undertaker, etc., because those characters help support the ecosystem that gives us the deeper cuts. Now, I'm not saying Mattel sold 50,000 John Cenas and they used the money to manufacture, Wrestler X. However, reliable, recognizable characters lower the overall risk of maintaining a huge action figure assortment. And that is the Cena tax. That's the Roman Reigns tax. That's kind of what we have to put up with in order to sustain the WWE Mattel action figure line. And you can even relate this to other characters in other lines of other properties. The Darth Vaders of the world, the damn Batmans, the Spider-Mans, the Hulks, the Wolverines. All of these things go hand in hand. It is a very easy and understandable business model for these companies to follow in order to ensure a long-standing life of their action figure or toy line. And honestly, we've been spoiled, man, because if you go back to 2010 and we've seen these, these different implementations and we've seen the details grow and the articulation grow and, Mattel has year by year leaned into the hardcore collector more and more. However, they still have their staples baked into the line. Every single Comic-Con, every single WrestleMania reveal, they're going to be, 3 or 4 Cody Rhodes. There's going to be 3 or 4 John Cenas and what have you. But, WWE collectors have reached a point where we're debating about elbow pad accuracy on some wrestler who appeared in 98 for like 10 minutes. You know what I mean? I mean, we are really in a blessed position with this line, and there's nothing else quite like it on the action figure market. We're actually in a very, very unique stance because I've talked about this before, but when you go to these Comic-Con shows, Mattel and, WWE and the Mattel team, they have so much product in comparison to other lines. And I think it's because of the history of WWE. It's because of the longevity. It's because there's such a huge bank of wrestlers and database of wrestlers that they can point to. And even on the My Damn Creators podcast, this past episode, we had a lot of nice intel from Steve Ozer, who's a part of the WWE Mattel design team and the marketing team. And he went into this a little bit. He explained these different aspects of it. You definitely need to go check out that episode if you missed it, guys. It's really interesting. We even get into the crowdfund talk as well, which is really cool. And we kind of expanded upon that a little bit and got some little nuggets of information. So I'm just telling you, you need to go check out My Damn Creators. It is our weekly WWE action figure podcast, essentially. But, the fact that we're even able to complain about the accuracy of some of these incredibly obscure figures and talents is proof of how deep this line has gotten. And I did a video a long time ago, maybe not a long time ago. I mean, it's been years now, maybe 4 or 5 years ago that I need to revisit, but I broke it down by era where it was, how many Golden Era figures, how many Attitude Era figures, how many this and that. And I guarantee you the number of first time in the lines that we have gotten up to this point is pretty absurd at this point. Especially back at Comic-Con, we got a lot of first time in the line figures revealed. I want to say it was 15 plus of, WWE first time in the line Mattel action figures. So that is what the crazy point of this entire thing is. But, you would think that Mattel would just, make new wrestlers all the time and they would make these new talents every single time. But there are so many different things that go into creating an action figure line and, just creating these figures in general. You got the tooling, the licensing and approvals, the retailer demand, the recognizability of the character, the production quantities, how many different figures are they making or how many total figures of that specific talent are they making. You have the price point you have to take into consideration. You have the assortment balance, which I think is where Mattel usually crushes it, and that's where their business model kind of reflects because they want to, corner every avenue of the market, which is what we broke down earlier, right? You want something for the hardcore collector, something for the casual, something for the kids of the WWE fandom. You want something for the grandmas out there to pick up for their children and their grandchildren. So there are a lot of different avenues they're trying to hit. Nostalgia is also a big one. So, this is kind of what we've come to expect from it. And, the reason that there's so many John Cenas and Cody Rhodes sitting next to these obscure talents is because you would think, that you're making another John Cena, you could have made Javon Evans or whoever the hell, and he may be helping make that assortment viable in the first place. A low deco John Cena can help stretch the line very far because of, the recognizable talent that he is. Like, if there was no more John Cena's, no more Roman Reigns, or they cut back on those, the Cody Rhodes of the world, it would seem like the figure line would be incredible, right? If you just packed every single assortment full of first-time-in-the-line figures and you didn't really pay attention to these different things, and this is probably, if you picked a random fan off the street of WWE action figures and you told them to run the line, this is probably what would happen. But, the line maybe not be canceled within 6 months. That's obviously hyperbole, but it kind of communicates, the business problem with this entire sentiment. You know, the next time Mattel reveals John Cena and your immediate reaction is who the hell asked for another John Cena, you know, you just have to remember not everything is for me. I think that's the real reason that you're looking at this. Now, I will say I'll go a step further. When I'm talking about the From the Vault line and stuff, I understand that not everything is for me and they got to make certain business decisions. And, you know, I understand that. I completely understand the business side of it. But I think I would just rather see some different selections in terms of, you know, the longtime collectors and things that should be in the vault. And it's more of a point out to what the name of the line is. But, you know, anyways, they have to make the John Cenas and Codys of the world, man. That's just the way that it is. It's just the way that it is. And without them, the figure line would simply pass away. Without John Cena, WWE figures would not exist anymore. You need John Cena. We need John Cena. It's the John Cena tax, man. Death, taxes, and new John Cena action figures, brother. And it goes for Hulk Hogan as well. I know people hate seeing all the new Hulk Hogan figures, but that is, you know, he's more of a... It's almost like every era has that guy that they can reach into the well and make a new figure of, and they will sell like hotcakes because of the reach that they have, man. The Hulk Hogans, the Ultimate Warriors, the Macho Mans, the Stone Colds, Rocks, John Cenas. You know how it is, man. You know these characters. You see them often, and they probably have the most figures in the entire history of WWE Mattel. That's all I got for you today, man. Hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know your thoughts on everything down in the comment section below, but I appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Have a blessed one.